This video is a film study focus on Lamar Jackson's performance in the Ravens' loss to the Bengals on Thanksgiving night. There's a lot of ways to summarize this and try to make global or overarching statements. I'm not going to do that necessarily until the end. I'm going to go through here play by play. It's pretty obvious that it's a night where Lamar played poorly. The offensive line had some well-diagnosed struggles, and perhaps we came in unprepared for some of the things that Cincinnati's defense was going to do. I'm going to spend significant time talking about this first sack, this first turnover, I should say, on the Ravens' second possession. It's a TE stunt that we've seen a ton, to be honest with you, so far in 2025. I guess technically it's not a TE stunt because Joseph Asai is a defensive end. Miles Murphy is as well. But the stunt emanates, from the right-hand side of our offensive line, the left-hand side for the Bengals defense. We need the running back or the center to be moving to 77 side pretty much every time. And what I mean by that is we cannot allow him to have to defend two gaps. He's not capable from an agility standpoint of staying square long enough such that he can move side to side. Now, there's other factors here as well, to be honest with you. People are so quick to blame one player or the other. And in this case, you would watch it one time and you'd say, well, this is Roger Rosengarten's fault. He doesn't identify this stunt. Well, number one, it's really nice design by the Bengals, if you ask me, for a lot of reasons. And I'm actually going to compare this to the way that Cincinnati handles a similar look by our defense on a touchdown later on in the game to Iosivas, or however you say his name, over top of Roquan Smith. So we'll start here. 27, the safety is set up to the running back side. And at a certain point, we see him kind of fall out pre-snap. There has to be some type of ability to adjust our pass pro to recognize, okay, he's not blitzing, and now we can actually allocate the running back somewhere else to help. And what I mean by that is we end up blocking no one here as a running back because 27 dropped out. In addition to that, because number 90, I'm not sure what he is position-wise, my guess is defensive tackle, because he's lined up in the A-gap, Falele has to at least be aware of the fact that we could have rushers through each of the three gaps, A, B, and C. And with the running back away from him, set away from Falele, and the center, Linderbaum, moving to his left, our right-hand side of the screen, it sets us up where Falele, for a moment, has to worry about that interior rusher. And then quickly he turns his body. And this is something you see a ton of with Falele. And in this case, maybe that's not even the correct angle of his body, but I would liken it to in basketball where there's an overplay. And what I mean by that is he doesn't have the agility to get out here and stay square as long as other guards in the NFL do. That's the whole point. We're not good enough there, number one. Number two, does Rosengarten not identify this quick enough? Well, how do you expect him to identify it with this defensive end? Hasn't even committed to a rush lane yet. It's the width of 99's alignment that I think is what makes this really expert from a Bengals perspective. 90 occupies Falele for just a moment, and then when Falele is able to identify that 90 is stunting over here and he will be overtaken by Linderbaum. I think I misspoke a moment ago talking about the direction that Linderbaum's stepping. Then Falele has to turn his body because he doesn't have the lateral agility to do so and stay square. And as a result, he can't ride 58 out of there at all. This is a very weak pass-off here from Falele to Rosengarten. Rosengarten recognized it late? Sure. Call it that if you want. It is late from the standpoint of how the stunt works out, for sure. But to a certain degree, you have to, A, give the Bengals credit for how they handled it, or how they set it up, and kind of forced our hand and basically ensured that Rosengarten would recognize it late. My point in all of this is immaculately designed to attack us at our weakest point, and that's the right side of the offensive line. This is what happens when you put average to below average talent out there at right guard and average to above average talent out there at right tackle that possibly isn't being coached well, number one, or number two is just taking steps backwards on his own in year two. So here's the stunt from the all-22 angle. They're dropping out to a cover three. Lamar can't step up here, right? 58's in his face. He doesn't necessarily think he can escape to the right-hand side for whatever reason. So trying to identify, where he should throw this football. You got Zay Flowers kind of like on this later developing in cut, and the inside linebackers in the hook range to take that away. To me, that's where it looks like Lamar is focusing right now. And the way that the stunt works out, 58 does go through the B gap. Yes, on paper, we would want Rosengarten to take that over. 99 hasn't even committed yet. Well, if I pull this back a couple of frames, 99 hasn't committed here at all. And 58 is already advancing through the B gap. My point is it's a very weak engagement by Fumble because he doesn't have the lateral ability or agility, to slide out there and stay square such that he can force 58 to expand at all, which would help out Rosengarten. Now, this is technically considered a Lamar Jackson film study and a focus on the Ravens offense, but in order to do so in as complete a fashion as I am capable of, I'm going to present you with the way the Bengals handle this. Now, it's slightly different because they oftentimes leave a tight end in as the running back. So they'll take Chase Brown or Pirine, however you say his name, and set him out as a wide receiver, put the tight end in the backfield. We don't want to do that necessarily because our tight ends are actually athletes who can make plays, right? So check out how they get this done, first of all. So we've committed to our look pre-snap, and then we've elicited or drawn out some type of protection change from Joe Burrow. And what I'm going to offer to you is the interior offensive line, guard, center guard, and then the tight end, how they're dealing with the threat of all these rushers lined up at the line of scrimmage, from Travis Jones to Roquan Smith to Kyle Hamilton over to Draymond Jones on the right. Talking about the interior four, basically. We've now switched something off here. As this all goes down, keep in mind a couple of things. Number one, Roquan Smith is assigned to guard someone on this play who's off the screen. So if you think that's sound defensive structure to ask an inside linebacker who already doesn't have elite speed for the position compared to other guys across the NFL, we just don't have the same opinion of what's sound defensive structure at all, number one. Number two, you're just wrong and misinformed. So, but in any case, watch how the guards take this on. Now, you do have different rush paths, all right? Travis Jones is going to the inside, so it's not like we can make a direct comparison between Risner and Fumble with this individual snap. That's fine. You can kind of do so with the left guard over here to the left, but the point is both of those guards have help to their immediate inside. The left guard has help from this tight end through the A-gap, and the right guard has help from the center through this A-gap. And so both of those guys are still able to stay square. Fumble had Linderbaum stepping to him. Like I said, I misspoke a couple of moments ago. And he still wasn't able to stay square after the first engagement and handle the B-gap. My point is we have an incredible lack of agility there. It's stupid to expect any really different result, and that's why teams keep doing this over and over and over again. Speaking of stupid, we still have Roquan Smith on screen guarding a guy who's off screen. It shouldn't be surprising to us that, how that play worked out. Again, this is an offense film study. You can focus on Gilman not being able to finish the blitz if you want. And yes, I do think that he should take on Pirine in a little bit more physical fashion. For a moment, it looks like maybe Gilman thinks he can run around Pirine and make the play on Burrow. He was obviously wrong. I'd like to see him, set that inside in a little bit more physical manner. Basically, with someone allocated or dedicated to pass proing him, you have to recognize or read on the run, if you will, hey, I may not get there, but I can compress this pocket on Joe Burrow. The point is, overall, the Bengals have a more athletic guard to both sides than we do, such that they can handle these stunts, and also they allocated enough resources to handle the potential blitzers on the field, and we did not. We'll try to get some of this moving a little bit quicker here, and I won't belabor the point as much as I possibly did in that analysis, but oftentimes things are more complicated than they appear, and in my opinion, the Bengals deserve credit for the way they handle the pass pro against some of our mug/blitz zero looks. And conversely, I think you can make a direct comparison to our inability to get things accomplished in pass pro there because of the lack of agility and athleticism that we have at right guard. Third possession now, and we're going to get talking about Lamar's inconsistencies on this night. We are going to chip on both sides, and so that means less guys are going to get out in the route, but we do develop an open receiver here. It's Flowers on a vertical stem, and then he's going to fight through contact up at the top side. I'm not sure who that corner is. This is wide-ass open in the NFL, and this is a bad miss. There's nothing about this that is related to the fact that Zay Flowers is 5'9". This ball comes out of Lamar's hand high. Now, the tying up by the defensive back of Flowers could have a role in it, in my opinion, but Zay's already out of here. We're already out of the contact as Lamar is throwing the football. This should be a completed pass. I don't really have a problem with the chips because we're down here in the end zone, and we want to avoid or minimize the opportunity for a sack or a negative yardage play. What bothers me the most is that we have to do that, and we're put in this situation anyway. It's actually, in some ways, a good thing because what it means is our defense had just made, obviously a goal line stand. Moving forward here to the fourth possession, we're still up in this game, in fact, 7-6. Bengals been able to scratch out another field goal. And this is a very unfortunate situation, kind of random if you ask me, in that Walker's route is going to basically run him into a safety. Now, as an aside, I really like this formation that Monken was showing multiple times. Sometimes it was 21 personnel, sometimes it was 12. So basically, I'm going to call it twin slot, but some people could refer to it as twin wing. It's basically an inversion of an actual wing alignment. Ricard is the inside tight end / fullback, and then Likely is set up as the outside guy. With two stand-ups, two athletes to the bottom side of the screen set to the field in the case of Bateman and Walker. Running back is Mitchell. He's going to, fly out into the flats. Pseudo play fake, but there's obviously no mesh, meaning there's no contact between those guys. And look at everything that we're doing now to protect the right side of our offensive line. We did use this pass protection a couple of times to the other side as well. But in any case, it looks to me like this safety, Stone, is pointing at Walker as if Walker is going to cross the midline, as if he's going to be possibly passed to the other safety. And we know that's not the case. That's not the route that he actually runs. As an aside, Keaton Mitchell, wide open in the flats, but it looks like Lamar is reading this from high to low, or the deeper routes, Bateman and Walker, then back to the more shallow route. So that's fine. The contact between Geno Stone and Walker occurs because Stone was, fooled or he was wrong, incorrect with the route that Walker was actually running. And as a result of this contact, it means, Lamar's throw is a little bit further downfield than Walker is prepared for. Lamar put him in position to make a play. This is an opportunity for Walker to make a big play. Here, we had so many opportunities in this second quarter, even though we were very sloppy on offense from a Lamar standpoint at times, and the offensive line. We were incapable of running the football. It's interesting to me on Thursday, the deeper throws by Lamar seemed to be more accurate than some of the intermediate or short ones at time. Here's an opportunity for Walker to make a play. Lamar gave him a chance, and we're unable to take advantage. Same play from the end zone angle. So this is Ricard and Likely set up like a, whether you want to call it a slot or a wing, I'm not sure. We're pulling the left guard, Voorhees, and then Mitchell is running fast to the flats. I really like this setup, from the pistol or under center, to be honest with you, with two heavier players to the right, Ricard and Likely. I'm not sure that, we really need three guys here, but I understand it from the standpoint of our pass pro has been horrible at times. Linderbaum was initially engaged in a defensive tackle. Falele comes over and kind of decks that guy a little bit late. Really clean pocket for us because of the pulling guard and the tight end fullback set up on the right. Lamar, clean platform, still able to take a hit from, I think it's Asai, who beat Ronnie Stanley a little bit late in the move. Big hit on Lamar. Gives Walker an opportunity to make a play. We're just not capable of, coming down with it. On a night when even, I think Lamar would admit He played far below his standard. We still had so many opportunities to make plays, whether it was Walker, Zay Flowers, or Isaiah Likely. Like I said, I really like that formation. I'd like to possibly examine it in a little bit more detail. I'm not saying that we've never used it before, but it seemed like Monken went to it 6 or 8 times on Thursday night, so I'm interested in perhaps why that is. Fourth possession here. This is, of course, going to be the fumble by Likely. I'll give you the end zone angle first, and there's a lot going on here, in my opinion. Likely sets up on the right-hand side. Lamar is going to extend this play clearly, once, if not twice, and that basically allows Likely to flow right to left to get himself open. You'll get the all-22 angle in a moment. It looks like to me Flowers could possibly be open against DJ Turner, but Lamar would have to throw the football over the top of this inside linebacker. I do think that's actually what Lamar's considering doing here for a moment. You see he kind of sets up to throw. I think Bateman is off screen to our right, and again, you'll see that from the all-22 angle in a moment. I don't think Lamar is setting up to throw this ball to Bateman. I think he's trying to get it to Flowers. Chooses not to, and then finds Likely over the middle. A big win. I think that's against Jordan Battle, the guy who ends up forcing the fumble. We're actually fortunate that this fumble wasn't forced a moment earlier. That's Geno Stone. It's like the second time he came all the way across the field to either make contact with a ball carrier or at least influence a play. We're very fortunate the fumble doesn't occur right there with Battle swiping his hand at Likely. Poor ball security. He's trying to elevate and jump over Geno Stone. Okay, I understand that, but this has been an issue for a while, right? Oftentimes in playoff situations, unfortunately. Fumbling down near the goal line. Lamar made a play here, in my opinion, but we just have zero ball security, zero awareness, as we're approaching the goal line. I will say this. One of the first times I've ever heard Harbaugh say, "It's on me." You're right, John. It is, because this continues to happen. And, I don't notice that we've done anything about it publicly. I get it. People are going to say, well, you don't want to destroy your players in public. There comes a time where you have to. And for me, it seems like right now Harbaugh isn't that guy. Basically, say to the team, the next guy that fumbles inside the 5, you're benched for the rest of the game. You may say, well, that's not how professional athletes are treated. Well, that's why you get this type of product put out there in your 6-6 in 2025, because you have a head coach, number one, who doesn't have the guts or the balls to do so, and number two, you have a fan base that may not support that decision anyway. Same play from the end zone angle. Here's the design of it again. Flowers working over the top of the second level of the defense. I don't think Lamar is trying to work this ball to Bateman on that slight little pump fake. It's a 4-man rush scheme. No wins for the Bengals other than Asai against Ronnie Stanley down here at the bottom. I think the Bengals are a man free. There's a linebacker that Lamar would have to navigate in terms of throwing the ball over the top of to get the football out to Zay Flowers in front. It looks to me like Flowers has won against Turner for a moment, and then Turner's long speed allows him to catch up. Maybe he reaches a hand out and grabs at some point anyway, but in any case, Lamar gets the ball to Likely, who's got possession right now, and these things continue to happen. Here's Battle. He's going to go on that path to force the fumble, but only after Geno Stone. Great effort. You have to give him credit for that. Flying across the field, going low on Likely, and that's what forces Likely to take his left hand up in the air. How do you protect the ball a little bit more in these situations? Have awareness that you've already made a big play. We're hungry for the touchdown. I get it. We want to score. We want to beat the Bengals. We want to get ahead of them. We think we're more talented. We think we're a better football team. There has to be more of an awareness, if you ask me, on the part of all of our players to not make these mistakes and not waste opportunities to score. We, of course, did have a touchdown call back a little bit later, which I'll show you. I do think it's important to mention and give the Bengals credit. They were the more physical team, in my opinion. They were also more sound in what they did, meaning they had better answers to the things we presented them pre-snap in terms of our defense versus their offense, and then our offense versus their defense. We're actually going to make 2 more great plays on this 5th possession. I'm talking about Lamar, but preceding that is this flyer to Bateman off the right side. So this is the first play of our fifth possession in the second quarter. The Bengals have now gone up 9-7. So you've got Andrews working over the middle from an inside alignment, and then Flowers underneath, so kind of like a levels concept. Bateman, stutter on the outside, and then he'll take his route vertical. I think that's against Dax Hill. Lamar doesn't even look down here to the bottom side. It's Rasheen Ali. I mean, I can't blame him, right? To me, that's kind of indicative of the fact that, he doesn't trust him. I'm not sure why he's getting so many snaps over Keaton Mitchell and Derrick Henry in this game. We definitely went away from Henry a little bit too early, even though we were ineffective running the ball coming out of the third quarter with him. I'm not sure if it's the base here for Lamar consistently that's making some of these throws off. There's a little bit of a stutter there with his feet, which kind of makes the release a little bit inconsistent. Not necessarily a pump fake, but just it's a terribly overthrown ball, obviously. I don't know if it's timing. The snap was slightly off high and off center for Lamar. We've just got to be way better than this generally when we get these one-on-one opportunities. It's not that we're wide ass open here with Bateman, but we've at least got to give him an opportunity to make a play. The very next snap is just, another example of how Lamar can make plays even in a bad situation. So it's going to be completion to Likely for 30 yards after he works around and Lamar extends the play. The initial scheme of it, Likely's just kind of checking up, and I think we've got a wheel from Ali down into the boundary. Again, I'm not sure what we're thinking we're going to get accomplished there. These wider rush paths against Rosengarten, I think teams are recognizing, maybe the strength and the overall size or something like that. I'm not saying that's what I believe. I'm just speculating or wondering because it seems to be happening far more often, meaning these wider rush paths and guys taking this kind of bull rush mentality to kind of deposit him back in Lamar's lap. I think for a moment Lamar was thinking about getting the ball here to Likely. Chose not to. You can see a little bit of a pump fake. Andrews developing, perhaps later over the middle. And Lamar tries to get out of there. It's truly unbelievable, right, that anything develops out of this play. Likely is off screen to our right. He's up here off screen to our top right-hand side. But, A, you don't have anyone open. B, you've got an oncoming inside linebacker who's close enough to threaten Lamar or any quarterback for that matter now, but here is even more unbelievable. He's literally within. I know these guys have tracking mechanisms in their helmets. I don't know that that's how they determine pressures in the NFL, but I've seen enough the last 2 years for how the NFL labels stuff on NFL Pro that to me the pressure seems to indicate or seems to be somewhat determined by how close the player is, regardless of body orientation or location on the field. But in any case, this guy's right in front of Lamar, but he's frozen because of Lamar's athletic ability. Everyone else on the field is pretty much following Lamar's lead because of his ability to get outside of the pocket and then make something happen. In this case, finding Likely for 30 yards. Same play from the all-22 angle. Ball's on the right hash. Like I said, I think the initial concept is into the boundary with Likely, Andrews, and then I believe it's Ali on a wheel. A later portion of this from the slot will be Zay Flowers, and then he adjusts his route, obviously, because he looks back in the backfield and sees Lamar getting ready to move out. This safety Stone is looking to take over Andrews' route. Consistently had this happening in the game against the Bengals on Thursday night, meaning the backside safety was looking for work from the front side. I feel like this was something we could have exploited with routes, from the slot or the outside receiver. Not necessarily on this play. In any case, Lamar gets out of here. You've got a scramble drill. So if you had a deep route, then you come back. If you had a shallow route, you go deep. And Flowers is going to the middle of the field because his immediate reaction after his in-breaking route was to come back outside and then adjust and basically reverse path. And Lamar, unfortunately for us, happens to be scrambling in the opposite direction because clearly Flowers has gained separation and Zay finally recognizes it. None of these options are the ones that Lamar takes. You do have a Bateman coming back to the football, clearly open. Not Andrews, not, and because Flowers reversed field, I guess a third time, he's not either. Ridiculous play, if you ask me, by Lamar to make this throw all the way downfield to Likely while he's being fronted up by an NFL inside linebacker. Kind of just a quick stop and whip of his arm to put the ball out in front. Got enough on it. It wasn't, a fifth gear throw, but he probably got it into fourth gear really quickly, and we're on the move with a big play. We know what happens next is the touchdown to Flowers that gets called back. I will say that the all-22 angle kind of supports that it should be called a penalty. I don't know whether I really want it to be or not, but I just want the NFL to be consistent. If they're going to call it on Zay Flowers, then they should call it on Jamar Chase. They should call it on Justin Jefferson or whoever else pushes off even slightly. It shouldn't be a matter of whether your arm's fully extended or not. It should be a matter of if you impede the defensive player's ability to actually make a play. In any case, we've got an example of Henry here going through the A-gap. So Falele's opening up a little quickly here because he's got a B-gap rusher. Kind of illustrates my point that I talked about earlier. But to a certain degree, you have to open up at some point in the rush. In my opinion, Falele is a guy who opens up too quickly because he doesn't have the ability to defend a two-way go for the defensive tackle. Here he's got help in the A-gap in the form of Henry, so this is okay if you ask me. In previous iterations and throughout the last 2024 and 2025, these types of moves have made him kind of susceptible to bull rushes. Anyway, I think Lamar is just already looking at Flowers, and he's just confirming that the safety is not in position to defend that vertical route. So I'll go to the all-22 angle, and then I'll come back to the end zone angle for a moment just to further explain what I'm talking about. Here's Flowers on the backside of the formation set up into the boundary. He'll run a vertical route, and once again, you've got a route from the other side of the field. It's Mark Andrews that the boundary side safety is going to orient his body to defend. So 22 looks for work first from the tight end, which is Likely, and then he tells this inside linebacker to take over Likely's route. No awareness or orientation at all to deal with or help with a vertical from Zay Flowers. In addition, a little bit of a stutter from Zay kind of allows him to gain some separation a little bit later in the route. And Lamar takes the one-on-one. Obviously, it's a good throw from Lamar, puts it in position for Zay to make a play. The push-off is real. You do see that it allows him to gain more separation than he has right now. If they're going to call it, for my money, I'd like to see it called every time on the offense that they do so. There's a lot of contact that occurs downfield. I don't know which officials at this point, A, know what an offensive pass interference penalty is, or B, are willing to call it consistently. I do know that was a big moment because it could have given us a huge play against some of their coverages. Besides giving us a 14-9 lead, maybe dissuaded them from some of the things they were doing with those safeties. So I'm going to bring this back to the end zone angle and just kind of annotate or illustrate what I'm talking about. So Andrews' route coming from the other side of the field, this inside linebacker and Stone both connected to Likely. Since Likely's chipping and then releasing into the flats, Stone actually points and tells the inside linebacker, okay, you take him, and I'll look for work from the other side. And that just basically leaves us a one-on-one down the field that Lamar takes and delivers, what, if you ask me, is a damn near perfect throw. The difficult thing to look back on that is that we ended up punting there, so we didn't get any points at all out of that situation. This whole possession kind of illustrates how inconsistent we were on the night from a throwing standpoint for Lamar, at least on intermediate to short stuff. We just had an opportunity for a touchdown on a great throw to Zay Flowers, and this is going to be an incomplete to Likely on a 2nd and 10. Obviously, the score is still 9-7 because that touchdown was wiped off the board. The design of this is going to have Faalele pull, and I think what we're trying to do is occupy or hold this inside linebacker, get him moving, so perhaps this route to Likely can be completed over the top of his alignment. But what happens is they've actually called an inside linebacker blitz. And so there's a little bit of pressure, and I think that possibly has an impact on Lamar's ability to throw the football while comfortable. It's a 5-man rush version of man-free. So man across the board. Normally man-free is a 4-man rush scheme. But in this case, they've added a 5th rusher to go after Lamar and not give him time. You can see the inside linebacker looping around, and he'll be the guy that kind of gets in Lamar's face as he's throwing the football to Likely. It's a really poor throw out in front of Likely. There's a lot of space up here. Again, it's man-free, so you got to know that all of those defenders are going to clear out of there. Opportunity to get the football, as I said, out in space to Likely after the touchdown or negated touchdown to Flowers. I mentioned that we had to punt here because of a sack. It's a really bad miss, if you ask me. We have enough of these on film lately, clearly, to question multiple things. Number one, his health from a lower body standpoint. Also, the release point, as well as the base. In addition, what's going on in practice? Because if we've got inconsistent technique or ability to deliver the football on intermediate throws, the types of throws Lamar has hit consistently, especially in 2024 and earlier in 2025, it's a drastic difference in the statistical output that we're seeing. Like I said, we come away from that possession with no points. This is the culmination of that. So you get a free rusher off the edge. And there's a lot going on here. Lamar has to know, and I'm sure he does, that no running back or tight end is assigned to chip or help out on the edge. There's 6 potential rushers, and with no running back or tight end help, that just means they have a numbers advantage. Now, all 6 of those guys don't end up rushing. This is a version, if you ask me, of what I call the glitch blitz. This defensive tackle is going to drop out after stepping to Linderbaum. This defensive tackle is going to drop out after stepping to Faalele. Gives a free rusher to Asai off the edge. I'll give you the all-22 angle so you can see the passing concept that we're trying to utilize. And I think Lamar possibly recognizes, well, first of all, he's trying to get the ball to Flowers. Let me move this forward a little bit so you guys can see it. He's trying to get the ball to Flowers on the snag concept down here. But the free rusher was in that lane, number one. Number two, he may have seen defensive linemen dropping out. Again, that's what I refer to as the glitch blitz. Credit to the Bengals for, actually this time bringing battle, and that forces Stanley to step down. The defensive end has got a free lane to the quarterback. All of these protection issues, right? Where do you assign blame? To a certain degree, we, regular fans like us, we can't know. But Todd Monken's in charge of the offense. George Warhop is the offensive line coach. Lamar has to be doing practice preparation on calling pass protection schemes. We're unprepared. How much blame do you put to each of those guys? Ultimately, it goes to John Harbaugh, and it's been a huge issue this season. Not just the talent level and technique of our offensive line in pass pro, but the ability to get them in the right place, and not be basically outflanked or outmanipulated. This is the same play from the all-22 angle. Here's the mug or blitz zero look by the Bengals that we've been seeing a lot because we can't run the ball well. No tight end or running back is going to chip, so a couple of things here that, it's tough to watch the opportunity that's there if we're able to get this defensive end blocked up at all. Your choices are, at least 2 of which are, we could leave the running back in to help out on the edge if we think that Battle's going to blitz. And then Andrews normally on this snag smash concept is going to run this route here. He's going to run a corner route, flag, whatever you want to call it, smash. He doesn't do that in this case. This safety, for whatever reason, is looking to the other side of the field. He has no awareness of Andrews at all. If we're able to get this blocked up even for a moment, and Lamar, let's say, doesn't throw the football to Flowers, which is where he's clearly looking at this point on the snag, Andrews ends up being wide open up the left seam. I'm certainly not saying that Lamar should be able to get him that football. He's sacked by that point. My issue is we are not able to give him time at all, either through talent level, technique, or just recognition / preparation. Again, as I said at the beginning of this play, how much do you put on that? How much do you put that on Lamar, Warhop, Monken? I don't know. You can blame individual players at the offensive line position all you want. We have overriding or systemic issues in our pass pro. We've been exposed. Like I said earlier, a couple of times we were forced to punt there, and the Bengals still kept their 9-7 lead. I believe this is our 6th possession. This is actually be the last play that I show. I think the point's been made. We've got a lot of issues. It's not all on Lamar, number one. Number two, he still made plays. It wouldn't surprise me if going out next week or in the future, he has another 3 or 4 touchdown game if we're able to put ourselves, A, in advantageous positions, and B, give him time to deliver the football. This is a frustrating one to watch. A, it's an unforced fumble by Lamar. We do, in this case, double chip. So Andrews chips the defensive end on our right. Ali chips the defensive end on our left. I think it's a quarter, half, and it's a later developing route to Flowers, in my opinion, that is the design of this play. I think Lamar is waiting on Flowers to get open because he was so wide in his alignment and his route. The only thing I can think about not taking this to Ali is that, again, we're reading deep to shallow. Completely unforced error by Lamar. I'm guessing that he's trying to get the ball to Flowers late. This ball should have been thrown well earlier, in my opinion. You guys can kind of see Flowers' feet here. I'll give you the all-22 angle so you can confirm it and see it for yourself. There's really no other option here in terms of how this is designed, meaning who we're trying to get the football. This is all Flowers, in my opinion. Lamar's got to get rid of this ball. Got to get rid of this ball quicker. Like I said, once we move Ali over, we end up chipping with him and Andrews to give us time, and the Bengals drop out in cover 6, or what I generally refer to as quarter, half. And the route structure is taking a long time, don't get me wrong, but Lamar actually has it. He has the opportunity to get the football over the middle here, or possibly to Ali a little bit quicker. All of the design here, if you ask me, against this coverage that the Bengals play, screams to me Zay Flowers over the middle in that wide open space, and I think that's why Flowers is so pissed off after the fumble and the turnover. I do have a lot to say here about some of the good plays that are wasted. Clearly the penalty on Flowers, we wish it were not called. Part of me thinks it should be, but I just wish the NFL was consistent. The fumble by Likely, absolutely a John Harbaugh issue, something we haven't stressed enough. The weird situation to Walker where he collided with the safety. Lamar, in my opinion, gave 3 guys opportunities to make plays. He created those either through moving around and getting the ball to Likely, or just the direct recognition of a safety sitting down looking for work from the other side, throwing it over the top to Flowers in the 1-on-1. We clearly could have scored more points. I think a larger issue here is our pass pro. The flow of our pass pro scheme is broken. Is it personnel and lack of talent? Poor coaching? Is Lamar not prepared to help out and get us in the best situation? Compare the way that the Bengals handled it, right? If we see something pre-snap, there has to be times where we act on it and we shift the protection around. I haven't seen that a lot in 2025. I'm not saying that Lamar's not capable of it. I'm not saying that he's never done it in the past. Perhaps the way we get it handled is more subversive and less obvious than other teams do it. But I think there's a huge difference in what we can see on film and interpret between how the Bengals handled it, specifically the touchdown pass to Iosivas against Roquan, versus what we did, where they bring a tight end in as a blocker through the A-gap and then assign a running back to an edge defender, probably what we would call small on small, meaning the running back is going to the safety. Do I want to see us bring a tight end into block in an A-gap? No. Our tight ends make plays. Theirs don't. To me, the obvious option would be Pat Ricard. We definitely played poor on offense, right? That's clear. We got out-coached. We got outplayed. That's on Monken, Harbaugh, the offensive line guys, and Lamar. Now, the one thing I will say is it's 2025. I don't think that we are suddenly having all these pass protection schemes, and the overwhelming majority of that responsibility or blame is on Lamar Jackson because we haven't had these issues before. If it's a Lamar Jackson thing, how did we survive this long? If it's a preparation during the week thing for Lamar, how come we didn't see these issues previously to this degree? Nonetheless, we definitely look unprepared. Part of it is we're incapable of running the ball consistently, and we're put into these situations more often and perhaps earlier in each sequence of downs, and earlier in games we're in obvious pass mode. As far as it goes with Ali playing so many reps, I think we're wrong-headed. He doesn't bring anything to the equation at all that reminds me of even Justice Hill, let alone Keaton Mitchell. I'll do it this way. Let's say we had a game where Derrick Henry was unavailable. If Keaton Mitchell got 20 touches in this fictitious scenario and Rasheen Ali got 20 touches in a separate one, which guy would you say, hey, with 20 touches, he's going to score 2 or 3 touchdowns? It's obviously Keaton Mitchell. I'm not saying that would actually occur. I'm saying that Keaton Mitchell has the talent and the explosiveness to do so. I have no idea what we're doing and what our coaching staff sees in putting Ali out so often, especially given the fact that our pass protection sucks already. The offensive line issues are obvious. I really don't want to waste many more pieces of content or my time on 77. It's pointless. He's got obvious deficiencies and things that he has to do to compensate for the lack of agility, and that opens us up to other rush schemes or stunts. People have recognized it at this point. They recognized it over a year ago. That stunt that I showed the first play is part of it. If you think Roger Rosengarten is wrong, fine. How is he supposed to identify that stunt quick enough with that wide alignment and the timing of Osai going through the B-gap and then Murphy stunting underneath? There is no way that he can identify it fast enough to handle Osai through that B-gap unless Rosengarten just doesn't take a deep set at all. He takes a vertical set and basically holds the B-gap long enough such that an actual edge rush for Murphy could probably give us problems. Finally, for Lamar, he played incredibly poorly overall. That's obvious. Inaccurate on at least 5 throws, 3 of which I showed you here. The ball security was terrible. Inconsistent performance and just way below the standard that we've got for him. And the standard that we need moving forward for his cap hit that we're going to have, how it's going to limit us, as far as other positions. Having said that, he still made some plays that could have changed the score on the scoreboard and given us a better opportunity to stay in the game longer. I do think the Bengals outplayed us enough such that even if Likely doesn't fumble or Flowers' touchdown counts or Walker catches that ball, I can't help but think that we would still have fallen to 6-6. There's just really no level of confidence that I have in this team overall. It's a microcosm, if you ask me, of 2025, in that we basically deserve what we're getting, in my opinion. I do think Lamar looked more healthy moving around, or close to full health, I should say. He's still got the ability to make throws. I think the offensive line is what's cutting us off at the knees, just like it has all year. Personnel, scheme, coaching, preparedness is just not even close to good enough, in my opinion. Am I upset, frustrated, angry at some of the decisions Lamar Jackson made and some of the inaccurate throws? Of course. But I do trust him to be able to make those plays consistently enough to help us win 10, 12, 13 football games in a normal season. This is not one, because we went into this year with an obvious deficiency at offensive line. And in this case, that, along with other factors, has just basically turned into chickens coming home to roost.